Welcome to Know Your Balls podcast, a sports podcast where you gotta know your balls, presented by Tonique Media. I'm your host, Avi Carr-Gloth. Robbie Williams, my co-host, he's with me. You know the deal. Robbie, good to see you again, my man.
Good to see you too, Avi. How you doing?
I'm excited. This is like the part of the sports calendar where we're getting treated as sports fans, right? We still have the NCAA tournament going on, NFL free agency, and the draft coming up. The NBA is in full swing. Baseball's around the corner. It's a little overwhelming.
Yeah, no, it's a good time of the year. I remember I don't know if they probably do this everywhere, but like Fox Sports, they call it April in the D because we have all the major sports teams, and once you start getting towards April, it's like everything's happening all at once.
Everything really is happening all at once. Really quickly, before we continue, we want to again thank Tell ABQ. Make sure you subscribe to Tonique Media everywhere you get your podcast, but also download the Tell ABQ app and listen to our podcast on the radio, along with our good friends at Airport Road Podcast as well. So a big shout out and a big thank you to Tell ABQ. A lot of action going on in the NFL in the last couple of days with various draft picks on the move. The 49ers, Dolphins, Eagles, they're all involved. Also, some March Madness going on still. We have our resident March Madness expert, Jacob Stevenson, in-house. He'll join us. And then, of course, the NBA trade deadline happened recently. Well, Robbie and I will break down the moves that we think were the best and worst, and some players with some commonalities, some common names getting dealt as well. But we begin, Robbie, with the moves that have really signaled the shift, I think, of the next wave of the NFL offseason, right? We had free agency, and we talked about that, and there was like a whole frenzy of moves. And now the league starts to shift its focus to the draft. Pro days are happening. Yep. Scouting is in full force. We're recording this at the end of March, and the end of April will be when the draft is taking place in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. And originally, the third overall pick belonged to the Miami Dolphins. And that is not the case anymore. The Miami Dolphins trade the third overall pick to the San Francisco 49ers. They go back to the 12th pick. The Dolphins, in addition to the 12th pick, they get an extra third rounder this year, and they get two additional first rounders in 2022 and 2023. But then the Dolphins make yet another trade. They trade back up. They went from 3 to 12, and then they go back up to the 6th overall pick, which they get from the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles get the 12th pick as they trade down. They get the 123rd overall pick this year, and they get a first rounder in 2022. The Dolphins, they move up to the 6th pick, and they get the 156th overall pick this year. That was a lot of moves, right?
Yeah, Robbie? No, they're wheeling and dealing over there.
Oh yeah, there are 3 teams involved, and I'll let you choose which team you want to talk about first, because this has major ramifications for each team involved. The quarterback carousel is going to be affected by these moves. Which team, is affected when you first look at this?
Well, the quarterback carousel is the centerpiece of this, right? I mean, Miami, I think, kind of determined. I mean, they're sticking with Tua, and that third round draft pick. I think they realized like we can get the same players we want in the first round with the 12th pick with this QB frenzy. And furthermore, I think it kind of shows the opposite on San Francisco's end, where like they have Jimmy G, but moving up to that third pick, I feel like they might take a QB to try and get that quarterback that's going to take them to the next level. Because Jimmy Garoppolo is a great quarterback, but he's not that next level kind of guy. And I think they might be looking for that next level kind of guy in a little QB competition. So I think it's the Dolphins are just making smart moves here, getting themselves in the position they want to get the players they want. and it's impressive, really. Like you said, I mean, it's a lot of moves they're making, trading in and out of the first round. It's interesting.
Yeah, and this is a very quarterback heavy class. It's supposed to be a great quarterback class. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence, many people expect him to go number one overall. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Lance, Trey Lance, I believe that's his name, from North Dakota State. A whole lot of quarterbacks available. Uh, Garoppolo for sure is is on the hot seat a little bit. I think they may do the Niners may do something similar to what the Kansas City Chiefs did when they drafted Mahomes. Like don't get me wrong, Jimmy Garoppolo when he's played has the Niners have won. They've
Yeah,
done a pretty good job when he's played. They went to a Super Bowl, for crying out loud. But he can't seem to stay healthy, and when he's not healthy, they are much worse, as exemplified by this past year. So I could definitely see that they have too much money in Garoppolo for next year to not have him as the starter. So I think they would have him and then a rookie quarterback sit for a year, like Patrick Mahomes. And if Garoppolo's hurt, which history suggests he will be, they'll have a rookie quarterback to stick in there. The Dolphins also engaging with the Eagles. I think this is a very interesting move for the Eagles because it almost solidifies that they are going to go with Jalen Hurts as their quarterback. They've moved on from Carson Wentz. They traded him to the Colts. And it seems like the Eagles, who originally had the sixth pick and they're moving down to the 12th pick in a very quarterback heavy class, it seems like Hurts is going to be the guy for Philadelphia.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, my bad. I said the Dolphins had the 12 pick. They're just making so many moves. I gotta keep up with it. They're going from 3 to 12 to 6, and but definitely no. I mean, Hurts looked pretty good at the end of the year last year, and with a little bit more practice, a little bit more game time, I think it's definitely worth seeing what he could do, and then trying to fill out your roster a little bit better. I'm just not a big fan of placing all your hopes and dreams on that number one overall QB. I mean, not number one, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You got to have the team to support the guy. So I like that move too on the Eagles' part. Give him a chance and see what he could do.
Yeah, and again, the team that is involved in all these moves, the Miami Dolphins, a move that's getting a lot more attention now because of all these moves is Laramie Tunsil. The Miami Dolphins got a chance to draft him because Laramie Tunsil, he was a highly regarded offensive tackle coming out of Mississippi. On draft night, video leaks of him with a gas mask and bong, and he slides down the draft. The Dolphins are able to pick him up. He's a solid tackle, and then they make a trade where they deal him to the Texans. He ends up re-signing with the Texans on what was at the time the highest paid contract for someone at his position, really because he had all the leverage, right? The Texans gave up 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick. The Dolphins ended up turning Laramie Tunsil into the 26th overall pick last year, the number 12, 36th, and 102nd pick this year, and a 2022 and 2023 first round pick. I mean, it's like dizzying to have to track all these picks, but that's incredible value.
It's a lot of smart moves. I mean, picking this guy up as he, like you said, he dropped in the draft because of some stupid decisions he made, but it played out really well for the Dolphins. Scooping him up and turning him into all these draft picks down the road. I mean, that's a lot of long term strategy in moving up in the draft and like building your team. And I like to see it because I mean, as long as I've been around, the Dolphins haven't really been any type of a
Yeah.
contender. I'm trying to remember the last time when they had Dan
I
Marino,
think I think
maybe.
I think the 2008 was the year that Tom Brady tore his Achilles or ACL. I don't remember the very first game of the season. And the Dolphins won the division that year, I think, with like Chad Pennington as their quarterback.
Oh yeah,
Um, uh, and so
throwback.
they won the division. They won the division that year. They lost their first playoff game, but I believe that was the last time the Dolphins, first of all, won the division. Obviously, with the Patriots
On
dominating the last 2
technicality.
decades, Right. So yeah, the Dolphins. I think they're definitely trending in the right direction. They don't need to draft a quarterback. It appears they have a guy in Tua Tagovailoa that they believe in. I believe they're going to have they're going to have 2 first-round picks in the next 3 drafts, including this one. And
It's
to be
big.
able to surround him, a franchise quarterback with the roster, you were just talking about it. Like it's one thing to have a quarterback, but you need to have like a roster where you can step in and succeed right away. And I think the Dolphins are building towards that.
Now, with that said, who do you think? I mean, at least position wise, what do you think they're going for with this 6th overall pick?
I mean, I definitely think they're going to look heavily at skill position players. I think wide receivers are going to be a big thing. Jamar Chase from LSU, Devonta Smith from Alabama. Um, I'm trying to
Jalen Whittle,
Kyle
Waddle. I'm sorry,
Jalen
Jalen
Waddle,
Waddle.
Kyle Pitts from Florida. There's a lot of really good skill position players, and I think that they I mean Devontae Parker's I think is a really good player, but I think they need more than just him.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to definitely build more around Tua. I think they could get another piece or two on the offensive line. Then obviously you can't have enough great defenders. Their secondary has some good players, so I'd start to build the front seven. But the fact that they have all this draft capital is just like this could be a really good young team.
Oh, definitely. And I think it's not just this upcoming season, but I mean, they're really setting themselves up to be a contender for years to come if they keep making moves like this and some of these picks continue to pan out. Uh, I'm always happy to see somebody go from zero to hero. So I definitely like all this
Mhm.
stuff. It's exciting watching the Dolphins do all this. I wish you know teams need to start taking some notes on what they're doing over there, wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, so it seems like the Dolphins are committed to Tua. It seems like Jimmy Garoppolo, while he may be the starter next year, maybe long term he won't. Reportedly, that the Eagles wanted to trade up where the Niners ended up trading. They wanted to make that deal with the Dolphins, the first deal that the Dolphins made, but then they decided to move up anyways. Or sorry, that rather trade back. Excuse me. Now that I guess the last question to ask regarding this is if the Niners are trading up to third overall, they're likely going to draft a quarterback. Which quarterback are they going to take? Zach Wilson, in particular, is a name that has been trending up lately, especially with recent video of his pro day.
5, he couldn't beat Coastal
Do you think
Carolina.
he's going to make it to the
First of all,
third
Steve
pick?
mentioned
With Jacksonville and the Jets,
The Jets.
having 1 and
That's a
2 there.
That's a good question. I mean, again, Trevor Lawrence is the presumed pick at 1. The Jets at 2. Uh, I really don't know. The Niners then are third. The Falcons are fourth. Also, Atlanta could take a quarterback too. Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
They could
count them out.
usher out Matt Ryan. The Bengals are fifth, so they're not taking a
Yeah, no.
quarterback. I believe they're still committed to Burrow. But those 4 teams, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those 4 teams took a quarterback. If the Jets like Wilson, he's gone. If they like Trey Lance or if they like Justin Fields, then I think Wilson will go to the Niners. But other than that, it really seems like the Niners have their eye set on a particular guy, and it could be Wilson.
It seems like it. Yeah, I think they're hoping that the Jets don't try to have a repeat of the Sam Darnold situation, where it just all hype goes nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think though, like I think the Jets shot themselves in the foot a lot. I don't think they create a good environment for Sam Darnold to succeed in. This is what the Browns did all the time, over the last 2 decades before they got Mayfield. Like they would just organizationally not preparing their quarterback right. Um, maybe if the Jets draft a quarterback, they're gonna need to trade Darnold. So that will be just yet another piece of the quarterback carousel. So a ton of different quarterbacks getting moved, and we may still see more to come, especially with the draft coming up. But while the masses may be talking about the next event on the NFL calendar, the draft, the Super Bowl champs are hard at work. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just became first of all, they became the first team to ever play a Super Bowl in their home stadium, and then they won. Now they're becoming the first defending champs to bring back all 22 starters on offense and defense. They brought back your buddy Ndamukong Suh. They were able to bring back Levante David and Barrett on the edge. I was impressed at how much they were able to bring those guys back. They restructured Tom Brady's contract. Leonard Fournette recently re-signed. Gronk re-signed. This is a very impressive feat that the Buccaneers are able to run it back just the same way they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that they are literally the first team ever to do that, to bring back. You would think championship teams would have a little bit, there would have been at least one other one, just with everybody being invested in like, hey, we just won a Super Bowl. Why not, keep a good thing going? So I thought that was surprising that they're the first team ever to bring all of their starters back. But I'm just as surprised as you are. I'm still, you know what? I said Ndamukong Suh was going to go chasing money, but I think he's getting a little too old to chase money. And he was like, well, no one wants to fork up some huge bucks for me anymore. So, might as well stick with the Super Bowl team. I just got to get my shots in on Ndamukong Suh since you mentioned him. But it is really impressive. I should wear a jersey one of these days.
I mean, look, he's not making nothing. I mean, Robbie, he re-signed only a 1-year contract, but it's up to $10 million, and $9 million is fully guaranteed. Like, that's $9 million like that. Like, that's not an insignificant amount of money.
No, I'm just talking out of my ass. We could say that on the radio, right?
I think so.
That's one of those approved words. I think it's in the dictionary. It means donkey or something, right? Like crap is also in the dictionary, technically.
Of course. So, again, I love that we can still talk about football, even though meaningful NFL games are still months and months away. So it's always fun to talk football, and especially as a Browns fan, this offseason can't finish up soon enough. So we hit on football, but this is March, and that means March Madness, and we've already seen quite a bit of March Madness, but not exactly from where you'd think. The Division II March Madness tournament featured an insane buzzer beater.
No timeouts left.
West Texas A&M against Lincoln Memphis, which is in Tennessee, obviously. A missed shot and a rebound, and ending up in a 3-pointer for West Texas A&M. A 3-pointer at the buzzer to send them to the Division II championship game. I mean, I don't care who wins. I am not invested in these teams. I couldn't name you a player on the team with a gun to my head, but it is still something that I feel when I see an incredible play like that.
Oh yeah, I mean that shot at the end. A kid launched it up into the rafters. It looked like. I mean, he just sent it up and said, "Jesus, take the wheel." It didn't even look like he was aiming for the net. It went up so high, and then he just, banked. I mean, that was luck. I mean, he banked it off the backboard, and it went through. And the guy who missed the original shot tipped it back to him, and the first thing I thought was box out drills. Man, guy shoots the ball, you got to box him out. You can't let him pop back.
Box out.
He's throwing the ball up in the air. He should be off balance, not popping right back in front of you, popping the ball back to his teammate for the win. And if you watch the replay, the guy who followed him into the paint gets caught just kind of staring at the ball, and then the kid who just shot it pops in front of him and pops it back. And that was my first thought is that coach probably right into the locker room was like, "This is why we do the box out drills, guys. Come on."
First
throw your butt into somebody.
First thing he says after getting their hopes dashed of competing for national championship is gotta box out. That would
If you
that
would have
was
boxed
all
out,
way-
maybe you'd still be in the run in there. So
Well, that was obviously
maybe he was a little bit nicer.
Maybe I think so.
Next season,
but who
he'll come
knows?
back. First practice, box out drills for 8 hours.
You'll get him next year, Lincoln, Memphis. So, anyways, that's Division 2, but Division 1 March Madness is in full swing as we're recording this. We got the Sweet 16 upon us, and for more on the Sweet 16, we're going to bring in our good buddy Jacob Stevenson. Before we get to Jacob, I gotta say, first of all, Jacob is the one who wrote the article on our Tonique website about Oral Roberts and their potential Cinderella run. They are now in the Sweet 16. Huge shout out to Jacob, even though he didn't pick them. And also, if I'm not mistaken, at Tonique we have our own March Madness bracket group, and I think Jacob has the best bracket in that group, if I'm not mistaken. So he could flex all over us all day, every day, even though he didn't pick Oral Roberts. So welcome, Jacob. And I mean, there are a lot of really exciting games and programs that are in the Sweet 16. But I want to get your thoughts on how the tournament's gone so far.
It's been good. I've enjoyed it so far. The last year we didn't unfortunately get a tournament. I think the best tournaments are when the top teams do really well. We still have 3 of the 1 seats in there, and there's a bunch of upsets like Oral Roberts, Oregon State's been on a run. Syracuse, every time it seems like they get a double-digit seed and barely make the tournament, they're in a run, but they're all double-digit seats in the Sweet 16, and then we still have 3 of our 1 seats available. So 4 games today in the Sweet 16. We're recording on Saturday, and 4 games tomorrow. So I'm excited. Elite Eight's Monday and Tuesday, and Final Four next week.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of Cinderella teams. I'll throw this out to either one of you, Robbie or Jacob. Is there a team that now that you're looking at the field, you could see making the Final Four that you didn't necessarily expect a week ago?
Oral Roberts going to the Final Four. I'll say it. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'll say it just because aren't they the first team to make it to the Sweet 16, like a 15 seed or something?
They're the first 15 seed since Florida Gulf Coast in 2013, I think.
I remember that run. Yeah,
Dunk City.
Yeah, oh my God, there were lobs and dunks everywhere. They were just dunking their way to the Sweet 16. Yeah, I remember that run.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna go with Loyola Chicago. They took down a 1 state Illinois. All the analytic websites, all the metrics have them as a top 10 team the whole year. They're season 8 seed, but they play Oregon State today, and if they win against Oregon State, they'll either play a 11 seed Syracuse or a 2 seed Houston. So going with Loyola Chicago.
One thing about Loyola Chicago I can't let slip by, they got this one guy with a dirt stash on that team who looks exactly like the cop everybody makes fun of in Super Troopers. I can't remember his name.
He does. Yeah.
He looks exactly like it. Someone put a picture on Twitter and I saw it and I was just dead. I was like, he's got to shave that thing, dude. Like, come on. Like, it's, oh, man.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Let's see. Another team I'm also very interested in, Oregon. They're not playing until Sunday. They're playing USC. Obviously, they made a lot of headlines by beating VCU without actually playing them. Obviously, with the COVID issues. But look, I think they could make a run. I like the way they took it to a really, really talented Iowa team. But USC they pounded Kansas by like 30 plus points. So who knows? But regardless, I think whichever happens there, I think whoever runs into Gonzaga is going to have a tough time. Is it Gonzaga versus the field, or is it just me?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm 50-50 because Gonzaga hasn't lost yet, but Baylor is also very good. Michigan's very good, but they're without Isaiah Livers. So I think you can say that, but if I had to bet on it, I don't know if I would necessarily do that. Even though I picked Gonzaga to win it all, I don't know if I would necessarily put money on Gonzaga versus the field, but I think right now, with looking at the bracket, you can kind of say that.
You guys think UCLA has a chance against Alabama?
I'm going with it. They have a chance. Like,
Yeah, everyone in Sweet 16 has a chance.
They've been good. Juzane and Hawk has been playing really well, but I think Alabama's going to win.
Yeah, I got a few friends who, because I went to Michigan State, and of course, when you fill out the bracket, you just kind of send both of those teams on. So a lot of my friends picked Michigan State to win it all in a bracket just to support the home team, and they're surprised of how far UCLA made it, and it's really helping boost their bracket, and they didn't even think they were going to win it all. So kind of a funny loophole with that play-in game, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say UCLA Michigan State was one of the first 4 games, and yet you're still able to fill out a bracket while like you have like those slash in the middle of the teams, you know, on the bracket. Like, yeah, that's Robbie. That's hilarious. Like, Michigan State is benefiting them with UCLA.
Every year, there's one team since the first 4 has been introduced in 2013, 2014, one of those years, that made the Sweet 16. And I had Michigan State. I thought Michigan State was going to beat UCLA, and I had them in the Sweet 16. And then I changed my bracket, and then I had them losing in the first round. So I had it, but I thought Michigan State was going to win, and then I changed it.
Just like with Oral Roberts, Jacob. Yeah. You had it. You had it. You had it. You knew it.
I originally picked Georgia Tech to beat Loyola Chicago. And then I saw Georgia Tech's best player was hurt, and I'm like, okay, I'll change it. And I remember I was talking to my dad about it. I'm like, yeah, Georgia Tech's best player's hurt. Someone picked Loyola Chicago to win. Well, I forgot to go in my bracket, change it. So I'm watching the Loyola Chicago Georgia Tech game, and I look at my bracket and have Georgia Tech still winning. I was pretty bad about that, but
So you're like the college basketball expert that like can't cash in on your own incredible insight.
I'll write an article about
break after break.
Oral Roberts will win a game, and then I won't pick him.
And then they won 2 games.
Yeah.
Hey, our guy AJ picked Oral Roberts because of you, and now he looks like a genius. So I'm glad someone.
Right now, if the bracket thing ended, AJ would win money. So he's doing really good.
But again, though, Jacob, last time I checked, I think until up right before the Sweet 16, you were the top bracket in the pool.
Yeah, today I just have a feeling today's not going to be a good day for me, though. So who knows if I'll still be there by the end of the day.
Yeah, who knows? These teams that we're talking about might be gone by the time this podcast comes out, but at least we have a March Madness to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully next March Madness you'll actually get to take advantage of your own insights.
Well, thanks for letting me jump on.
A big thank you to Jacob, and again, a big thank you once again to Tell ABQ. Make sure to check out Tell ABQ or download the Tell ABQ app where you can listen to this podcast on Tell ABQ podcast. Check out Know Your Balls podcast. Check out Airport Road. One last big topic, Robbie, and we recently just passed the March 25th NBA trade deadline, and that's one of the busiest days in the entire year. Most of the league participated in trades. I think there's 30 NBA teams, and I believe like 22 or 23 were involved in at least one trade. There was just so many players that we knew were going to get moved, who got moved. Some players who we thought we were going to get moved that did not get moved. What's one move that stood out to you?
One that I really like was the Blazers picking up Norman Powell and adding some firepower to their offense. Yeah, they had to give up a couple good role players there, but I think with McCollum back in, Damian Lillard being Damian Lillard, and then just throwing that extra little bit of firepower in there with Norman Powell, I thought that was a really good move to just keep them over the hump in the playoffs and make a good push. He's averaging he's averaging about 20, 22 points a game, shooting about 50% from the field. that's big. It takes a lot of pressure off of adds another dimension to their offense, I think. And other than that, the another one I really liked was Oladipo to the Heat, especially with some of the injuries they've had here. I really liked that move. They are Where are they? They're just out of playoff range right now, I think,
Mhm.
in the
Remember,
in the standings.
remember the top 10 teams though get to play in the play-in tournament. So, I mean, you really need to be in the top 10 for when push comes to shove. But I know what you mean. Um,
Oh
just
no, they're
to,
eighth right now. Okay.
yeah. So I mean, they would definitely be in the conversation. But I agree with you. I love the Norman Powell move. Norman Powell is on my fantasy team. I picked him up way back in January. I was going to drop him, but then he kept playing really well, and I've just had him ever since. So I love the offensive firepower that he gives Portland. They had to give up some really important pieces of their rotation in Rodney Hood and Gary Trent Jr. But I think that's a move that I think is going to pay dividends for them. And then you mentioned the Victor Oladipo trade. Victor Oladipo going to the Miami Heat. Apparently, he had been linked to the Miami Heat for forever, it seemed, right? And now he's finally there. He's on an expiring deal, but maybe they re-sign him. Who knows? But to me, that's not the headline from that trade. Houston
Tanking.
just 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 abysmally handling their teardown, right? They make they trade James Harden because they absolutely have to, right? A 4-team trade. They could have gotten Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen from the Nets in that trade, but they wanted an all-star because they wanted to be able to compete, right? They have John Wall, they had DeMarcus Cousins still at the time, Christian Wood. They wanted to compete. They needed to have an all-star, so they wanted Victor Oladipo, and then they offered Oladipo that contract extension, and he said no. And then all of a sudden they had to trade him again. They got when you when you look at it completely, the return they got for James Harden is just terrible. They got obviously they got Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley from Miami, getting Oladipo. Oladipo only played for them for 20 games. It's clear that he's not the player he once was, and that he didn't even want to play there long term. Just I don't think there are very few ways you could have handled this worse than how the Rockets handled the situation. Like they have very little to show for the way they traded one of the greatest offensive players this game has ever seen. At least for the Pelicans, when they trade Anthony Davis, and they also had no leverage in that situation as well. They got Brandon Ingram, they got Lonzo Ball, they got Josh Hart. They obviously had some lottery luck getting Zion, but that's how you do it. You get those young players, you do that rebuild. You don't trade for 20 games of Victor Oladipo. Rant over, but still terrible management for the Rockets.
It's like they wanted to tank, but they didn't want to admit they were tanking. So we need somebody to kind of boost up our team a little bit, but then you end up just screwing yourself instead of just going full tank. And you end up getting terrible quality for James Harden out here, who's just the other day or yesterday he said they asked him if he's top contender for the MVP, and he's like, I'm pretty sure I am the MVP. And and then you just end up with Bubkiss for him.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Definitely
Jeez.
terrible moves on the part of the Rockets there for sure.
Yeah, so those moves were happening. Also, a current All-Star was moved, Nikola Vucevic, who had been with the Magic for 9 years. I don't know if you remember the Dwight Howard Andrew Bynum trade, that 4-team trade from way back in the day when Dwight Howard got traded from the Magic to the Lakers. Obviously, it didn't work out, but that's how the Magic first got Nikola Vucevic, and he's been with a team since then. And then he just gets traded to the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls giving up 2 first-round picks, one this year, one 2023. They gave up Otto Porter and Wendell Carter. So, I mean, this is This is signaling the Bulls are going for it. Like, they have an all-star in Zach LaVine. Now they have another one in Vucevic. They have Lauri Markkanen, a nice young forward. Kobe White, I like him at the guard position. The Bulls are trying to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, they're right there on the bubble too. They're 10th in the Eastern Conference. And that this Vucevic trade might be the thing that helps kind of push them over the hump and keep them above number 10, like you said, to get in there, get in the conversation. I like it. I definitely like the Bulls haven't been in good form here in a while, and I think this is definitely a good move for them to try and not just this year, but just moving forward. Keeping Vucevic around, keeping Zach LaVine around, and making some more moves to get back into the top contenders in the East.
Yeah, I really like this.
Definitely a good 1-2 punch. You get the outside, inside there.
That's a great point. Their guard center combo, I think, is great. I like their head coach Billy Donovan. They were able to take advantage of a team in Orlando that they're rebuilding. They're once again they're trading away a lot of their core players. Vucevic obviously gone. They trade Evan Fournier to the Celtics for 2 second-round picks. I like that move for the Celtics. And they also, in a move that was widely expected, they traded Aaron Gordon. They trade him to the Denver Nuggets, and they got a haul of Gary Harris, R.J. Hampton, a young prospect, and they get another first-round pick. So Orlando is really building for the future, and a lot of teams were able to take advantage of that.
Definitely. Another one let's slip by here, the Clippers getting Rajon Rondo. I really like that move. That's just a really great move there. That team's really virtually unstoppable when you throw
on paper.
Yeah, they're not doing as well as they could be doing, but Rajon Rondo has a history of really going all out in the playoffs, and
playoff Rondo.
I definitely like that move a lot. I've always liked Rajon Rondo, one of my favorite guards. Ever since he was, I think he was like a rookie on that first super team there with
Pierce,
he was like his Garnett.
He was like his second year. I don't think it was his rookie year. I think it was his second season where the Celtics won the title in 08 with Doc Rivers, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen. I agree. I like that deal. And then another sneaky good deal I like is the JJ Redick deal, trading him to the Mavs, the Pelicans.
JJ Redick, yeah.
JJ Redick, I thought the Pelicans were going to have to buy him out, but the fact that they were able to deal him to a team like the Mavericks, who really need that shooting and floor spacing, I think
they've been too good from three.
Well. Yeah, that's for sure.
Shooting in like 30% range from 3-point land. Above 30%, but not around 40. That's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely need more floor spacers. They trade away Seth Curry to the Sixers in the offseason. They got back Josh Richardson, but they definitely could use another shooter. And getting JJ Redick was a good get for them. One little tidbit that I got to mention before we finish up here is every current NBA player whose name is Gary got traded at the trade deadline. Gary Harris got traded to the Magic. In that same trade, Gary Clark, who was on the Magic, he gets traded to the Nuggets. So 2 Garys in one trade. And then, as we mentioned earlier, Gary Trent Jr. going from Portland to the Raptors. So that's pretty cool. A lot of Garys.
Very interesting. Yeah. A lot of Garys traded at one time, but also, like, I'm just surprised there's only 3 Garys in the whole NBA. Like, how many players are in the entire NBA? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Gary's not too
There's only one Norman, I think. Norman Powell. I think there's only one Norman.
See, that's a name I would expect there to only be one of, because it's not 1950. I think Alfred Hitchcock kind of ruined Norman for everybody.
1950.
Like, everybody, that's that. When I hear the name Norman, I just instantly think of Norman Bates.
Wow, interesting.
I think no offense to that guy. It's just like like Alfred Hitchcock movies.
I think of Norman Osborn from Spider-Man. I think of Willem Dafoe.
Oh, yep.
That Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. Great movie. That's the first thing I think of when I think of Norman. But also now Norman Powell, because he's killing it on my fantasy team. So
And
I
since
love
we're
that too.
referencing things, when you said Gary 3 times, all I could hear is SpongeBob in my head.
Yeah, it's
Gary.
exactly. I knew. It's exactly what I was thinking too. Yeah, Gary. Yeah,
Yep.
I can't do a SpongeBob impression. What am I doing? But a lot of great trades in the NBA. A lot of great basketball, both collegiately and professionally. I'm excited to see how this proceeds. The playoffs in the NBA aren't as far away as we think. We're fully in the second half of the season, and now, now there's a lot that's like you don't need to pretend that you're tanking anymore, or you're done or contending. Like it's out there. The buyout market, we still have to see how that shakes out. Andre Drummond got bought out by the Cavs. LaMarcus Aldridge got bought out by the Spurs. Those are two players that could make a difference depending on where they land. I know LaMarcus Aldridge has been linked a lot to Miami. That would be very intriguing if he went there. To pair with him and Bam Adebayo in the front court, I think that would be something. So look, there's a lot that still has to be sorted out, but what we do know now is pretty good, and I'm really excited that also baseball is very, very soon. April is upon us soon. So just another sport that we're gonna have to be talking about, and another one of those balls that you got to know on Know Your Balls podcast.
I'm excited I haven't watched baseball a lot because the Tigers have sucked so bad, but we're starting to get a halfway decent team around here. We got some good pitching prospects, and I've been trying to keep up on their moves there, and they're not getting their butts kicked every day in spring training. I think they're hovering around 500 right now, and so that's kind of got me a little bit more interested in the baseball realm.
Matter. Come on, you're getting. It truly is desperate if you're getting.
Can I have some hope,
spring
Robbie?
training record?
You just let me.
Look, I'll tell you this. I'm a big Toledo Mud Hens fan. So all those prospects, I hope they win a lot of games for the AAA Toledo Mud Hens. So there's some common ground for you. How about that, huh?
I'll give it to you.
There's some common ground. So again, we want to thank Tell ABQ once again. Download the Tell ABQ app. Subscribe to La Tonique Media wherever you get your podcast. Follow La Tonique on our socials: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know the works, all that fun stuff. Don't forget to check out the website www.latonique.news. Robbie, one final thought before we head off. You're going to talk about Ndamukong Suh. You're going to talk about the Tigers. What's your closing thought?
My closing thought. I can't think of another good Sue joke. I think I've just about ran out of hate for Ndamukong Suh. I've already let it all out.
Let it out, yeah.
Let it out. You always hit me with this last thought. I got to start writing some like good one-liners for the end of the show.
You gotta know your balls.
I'm gonna come prepared next time.
You gotta know your points. You gotta know your balls. This has been Know Your Balls podcast. See you next time.